Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Next Level Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Leslie. This has been an amazing season 2 so far. I mean, I think I'm almost through season 2, for God's sake. It feels like I just started it, but it's been really amazing. We've been really focusing this season on biohacks and understanding our bodies. We did a lot on carnivore, and this episode is not going to be too much different. This one is actually incredibly exciting because we're going to be unraveling this crazy mystery about thyroid dysfunction and cholesterol, because they are linked. And I've talked a little bit about this in my prior podcast episode when I was talking about intermittent fasting and ketosis and the thyroid. But this I needed to dedicate an entire episode to because it really is mind-boggling. When I talk with my clients and I coach on nutrition and I sort of basically illuminate what the research is saying and how it's different than everything we are being told and what I've been taught in Western medicine, it really is mind-blowing for people, but it makes so much sense. And again, there's research to support this. And really, it is so simple to fix a lot of these things. And I'm going to go into a little bit of my experience as a clinician, why this has kind of been such a big deal as a clinician for me, what my personal experiences have been, what the research says, and tell you a little bit about the physiology so you understand what why this is the way it is in your body. And then also I'll talk about some recommendations I generally give my clients about how to correct this easily, bring your cholesterol down through hormones, your thyroid hormone specifically. So jam-packed episode, and we have 30 minutes, so let's get going. It's going to be a short episode today because I was running a little late. My life has gotten a bit crazy these days. But thank you, Lana, for being here. And
I'm here.
Yes, producing the show for me. I was telling her before the show, I just appreciate so much having her because I get to banter with someone and it really brings out the me.
The real Dr. Leslie.
The real Dr. Leslie.
Yes.
And it's so funny because those of you who've, seen me progress over the very beginning of my show starting, it was like I'm a very different expression of myself. I was really, the beauty of podcasting is that you find out what your persona is. And my persona is me.
Yeah.
And it works for me. And
you are
I love
your
it.
brand.
And I am my brand. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I love this little setup. I love my guests, but I love my one-on-one time with Lana.
Yay.
It's fun.
I love it too.
And she learns and she asks me questions and it's fun.
One of the best things I think about like being an engineer for podcasts is I've never thought I would learn like this. I have learned so much more in a year than I have like my entire life. Just listening to podcasts, including yours.
Well, thank you so much. That's such a compliment. It's literally you get to engineer and you're listening to podcasts all day.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of them.
And learning.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's fucking fun.
You're in a really great position.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm glad that I can give a little bit of wisdom to you.
You give me a lot more than you think.
Oh, good. Girl. And then after the post and pre and post podcast banter, like that's behind the scenes stuff that everyone really needs to see.
That's the real Dr. Leslie.
That is hardcore. Oh yeah, no filter.
None.
That's filterless Dr. Leslie.
Yeah,
that's a whole other beast.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the show. So, what is this whole mystery of the thyroid and cholesterol? Okay, so as a clinician, as an NP that I practiced for many, many years, I had noticed my clients with what's called metabolic syndrome, which is basically a bunch of comorbid conditions, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, or at least sugar sensitivities or insulin resistance, and the little fat tire around. What I'd noticed for so long was, my clients that had this metabolic syndrome started developing thyroid diseases or hypothyroidism or nodules on their thyroid and or then thyroid cancer. And it was the weirdest fucking thing. I didn't know why. I didn't understand why. My Western medicine schooling didn't really connect the dots for me. But this was something that I had noticed for a long, long time. And, I just had to keep treating the way I was treating because I had to only treat within the guidelines or else you get in trouble. There's lots of ways that you can get in trouble as a clinician if you're not prescribing within the guidelines. But, now come full circle. Now that I'm sort of outside looking in, I have my DNP and I'm like this nerd who just researches everything. And then, I use it on myself and I guinea pig myself and then share it with my clients when I've mastered it and it all makes sense. Come to find out, since the 1920s, we've known that low thyroid, hyperthyroidism, actually is a cause of high cholesterol. We've known this since the mid-1920s.
Huh.
So it was found, first there's this Russian scientist who did this experiment on rabbits. They thought that there was this correlation when you have high cholesterol, you eat high cholesterol, cause high cholesterol. That is not the case because rabbits and humans don't have anything similar of systems. That's why we now use rats as experiments and because we're more similar. So in the 1920s,
people are similar to rats?
In terms of the way our bodies metabolize and, function. That's why we use rats.
I didn't know that's why we used rats. I just thought it was because we used rats. Shut up.
Yes.
See, I'm learning more.
Wow. So
Okay.
cool. Yeah.
Sorry,
so
go ahead.
Don't do experiments on bunnies. Do them on rats.
Go to New York.
Okay. So fun fact. Yes. So, oh my God, I lost my train of thought. So with these rats, we discovered that, okay, when they had low thyroid, that's actually what was the contributing factor to cholesterol. Now, there's other things that can contribute, but not what we think. And I address those on the other podcasts, but it is not consuming high cholesterol. Eating high cholesterol doesn't cause high cholesterol. In fact, and this is the physiology behind it, okay? When you have low thyroid hormone does a lot of amazing and miraculous things. And I pulled up some studies here. So there's one at the National Institute of Health. Thyroid hormone reduces cholesterol via a non-LDL receptor mediation. So this is in 2020. The authors, the researchers, I'll put them on the podcast. So this is a while ago. We've done more and more research since then to actually specify what this is because it was a mystery to us why the thyroid lowers cholesterol. So this receptor, the thyroid actually helps cholesterol bind and gets carried so it can actually be taken up into the liver, manufactured. It also helps get into cells and be utilized and broken down for hormones. Cholesterol is an integral particle for building your hormones. So if you have low thyroid, you're not going to have your hormone functions. Like it's like a big deal because we realize that the thyroid hormone actually helps cholesterol be utilized. So this is what that link is. The problem also is that, again, from my clinical practice over my many, many years, the cholesterol guidelines have gotten very, very tight. So people are being treated for cholesterol problems, which isn't necessarily what we should be doing, is reducing cholesterol. Actually, high cholesterol is okay because the cholesterol, when it has thyroid hormone to bind it and make it carry, it's actually being utilized. When you have low thyroid hormone, you have more cholesterol circulating free, which can get stuck to the arteries, which ends up clogging your arteries instead of being utilized. So the thyroid hormone is so critical. If you're eating animal fats like me and a lot of my carnivore friends and fans and colleagues, it's not the cholesterol itself that's causing the problem. It's actually having the sugar that binds the cholesterol, and if you're not utilizing that cholesterol into the cells. And so this is where the thyroid comes in. So what do? We have these, we're being told we need to be treating cholesterol with these, lowering and lowering the cholesterol levels, which isn't necessarily the case because we test the wrong cholesterol levels. We need to be testing the carrier, not just what's being, free flowing. We also need to understand that thyroid hormone is actually being not treated at the optimal levels. So this is also increased. I've seen over the years of my clinical practice that thyroid guidelines are widening. So you might come in for sluggishness and fatigue and weight gain and all of these symptoms of low thyroid, but you're not being treated. As a clinician, it's been very challenging because I see the symptoms, but we're not allowed to treat because the reference range is widened so much. So what do you do? What do you do when you're in this situation where you have this cholesterol issue and you might be subtherapeutic or you're having symptoms of hypothyroidism, but you're not clinically able to be treated, well, this is where iodine comes in. Okay, so iodine is a fundamental nutrient that you need to make your thyroid hormone. In fact, it's not just for your thyroid hormone. There has been much literature that's actually supported iodine reducing the risk, and I'm not going to say curative, although people might have had that experience, but where iodine has actually substantially reduced the risk and eliminated tumors in organs, in our endocrine and exocrine organs. So for those of you who might not know the different types of cancers, there's inflammatory and there's these non-inflammatory cancers. Inflammatory cancers are often in non-organ tissue, basically, right? So like the lungs, for example. That can be very much treated with anti-inflammatory type diets. Again, carnivore is one of those diets that can really reduce inflammation because you don't have that stickiness and that inflammatory reaction. Now, what about the organs? Well, this is where iodine comes in. So there's this one amazing show that I watch, and I'll also post that with the podcast where you can find this. This doctor has been treating women with breast nodules, pancreatic issues, ovarian problems, and those are the organs that when you end up getting cancers or dysfunctional cells, it's a rapid death. Like people just go fast. And I've seen those patients and there's really no cure because it's not an inflammatory process. We don't know how to really cure or treat them very well. Now with iodine, because it is such a fundamental nutrient to make hormones and all of these, the tissue of these very specific type of organ cells, it's actually reducing the trauma and the dysfunction in the organ tissue. So you're also going to get a healthier pancreas, ovaries, not just from the hormone aspect, but just from the cells themselves. So again, iodine is one thing that I really like to suggest people utilize when they're, again, having the symptomology. If they have any types of thyroid nodules or breast nodules or any of the organ type nodules, that is an indicator from the literature that there is very highly likely an iodine deficiency. And again, this is one of these challenges that I've witnessed being in this profession and looking at the history of how we have been treating and caring for our population. A lot of our salt is stripped of iodine. You can actually buy iodized salt, but you generally don't have that unless you specifically buy it. Supposedly there's enough in the water, yet over the last 30, 40 years, we've seen a growing incidence of these glandular nodules, in these organ tissues and cancers in them. So again, there's much research that's linking a lot of these to low iodine levels. But again, going back to the thyroid, which is what I wanted to really hit home on, is iodine for thyroid function. And of course, the thyroid isn't just for the cholesterol lowering, all of those sorts of things. It really is going to boost your metabolism. So to go to my example, and we had a switch out here. Hello, George.
Oh, whoa. The mic was already left open. There we go. I'm on there now. Hello.
Yeah, because Lana and I talked. So we had a little switcheroo. Lana had to step out, and we have George in studio.
Her wonderful mother came in the studio, and I had to do the service of allowing her to see her mom. So
sweet of you.
I had to.
I love it.
Yes.
So usually I like to chat with Lana because it's boring with listening to me just quote statistics and bullshit all day.
Oh, no, I was ready for it. But if you feel that way, shoot something off me then. Let's go.
So did you know that? Did you know that the thyroid helps carry cholesterol and have it utilized into the cells and hormones?
If I didn't engineer so many fitness and health podcasts, I wouldn't know it. But I do understand how important the thyroid is in blood. Like you're able to track it through blood work, yes? Like,
you can.
Like how is it? You're tracking how productive it's being, or
The levels of the thyroid stimulating hormone, which comes from the brain, and what's actually coming out of the thyroid itself.
Got you.
The problem is, and again, people don't know this, when they go to their doctor who prescribes them medication like thyroid hormone to stimulate the hormone, we don't want to be on hormones. People don't understand that you are actually giving yourself something your body should be producing on its own, and then it down regulates. It's just like guys, when they take testosterone, their balls shrink because they don't have to be making testosterone anymore. Like things, it's even a Band-Aid. Hormones are even a Band-Aid. My philosophy is not to Band-Aid, although some people need that. What we need to do is give our bodies the building blocks that we can make our own hormones. So iodine or iodide, which is really important, I take iodoral, and that's usually what I suggest people to take because it's a fundamental building block. When you take that shit, let me tell you, your metabolism revs through the fucking roof. And then, we don't necessarily need to be, now this is, I don't want to make any recommendations. This is not medical advice, nothing that I say. I want any of you to go and just do, okay? This is from my experience working with clients. But, when I've put people on their iodoral, they have been able to get off of their thyroid hormone medication because they no longer have hypothyroidism. Because we have that fundamental building block.
Is this similar to, so iodine in this situation, or iodide, is similar to like what peptides, are peptides one and the same, where it is trying to allow your body to produce it on its own as opposed to just completely taking over for?
Yes. So very, very similar. It's like a building block,
Got
like
it.
a peptide, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, same type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So iodide, which is actually an important one. People will take kelp, but iodide is really important. In that, because there's two different building blocks. So yeah, they're building blocks. I mean, there's going to be a whole other episode I'm going to do on peptides because I love peptides.
Yeah, they definitely seem like the cooler out of everything. Yeah, like
They're really fucking cool.
what would you categorize like all these new scientific findings as? I've heard people say this is like medical 3.0 or something. Like,
Yes,
what's the buzz term
I
for
would
that?
probably put it under. I don't. What came to my mind? It's like genetic tampering. If you want to be exotic,
Got you.
but it's like epigenetics. Maybe
All right.
because epigenetics, it's a newer scientific sort of arena or niche we're looking at much, much more, which talks about the environment and how the environment triggers our genetic expression. And so if we give our bodies the right type of environment, the right type of energy, the right type of peptides or just trigger, we can turn on and off our gene expression like switches. Like it's very interesting what I learned a gazillion years ago when I was first in my medical training. They told us that juvenile diabetes or type 1 diabetes is when it usually happens in children, so juveniles for kids, when the pancreas all of a sudden it just shuts off. The cells no longer make insulin. The person immediately secretes nothing, and basically they have to be on insulin if they want to be eating carbohydrates. So oftentimes what triggers that is a major illness, oftentimes a viral infection. So the immune system gets attacked, all of the DNA gets activated, and then all the genetics start turning on or off. So then these dysfunctions happen. It's very, very common when we go through stress, which obviously a major illness is a stress, then our genes kind of get jacked up and they turn on or off, and that can have a consequence. So this sort of epigenetic genetic tampering is kind of what peptides do. They can actually turn on and or help facilitate that process.
Nice.
I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but I've been looking at epigenetics for, well over a decade, and there's more and more that's involved. And if you really want to get more into the where this could go, there's more and more physicists that are looking at the energy component of DNA. That there's so much, they've split DNA and they've separated it from a person 200 miles away or something like that. And when they did genetic tampering, like they changed they exposed them to frequencies and different types of foods and different peptides and like a bunch of stuff, the DNA strand changed as well.
Wow.
As this strand changed, that strand changed. This is physics. This isn't fluffy spiritual shit. So we're starting to understand that at the DNA level, there's information that is exchanged that happens instantaneously. It's quantum. It's expanding on quantum physics. So our DNA is so powerful. So epigenetics, yes, we can tamper with all these peptides and different things, but just frequencies, like it's a very intelligent. Our DNA is very, very intelligent. And we can manipulate in so many ways. Right now, we're learning to manipulate it with, peptides and nutrients and meditation and being present. And, it's important to have that calm and stillness in our life because that powerfully affects our genetics. Like, again, we know meditation, when our body is calm and at a homeostatic place, that low stress level can induce so many positive effects. So it's a pretty amazing field of study. So if I was to not create a title, I would just say it might be in the epigenetics sort of field, maybe biohacks, but I like genetic tampering because it's a fun word.
Tampering's dope.
Because it's a fun word.
But anyways, I don't want to take off the thyroid.
That's okay.
Topic. Yeah. No. I was just excited to hear what Dr. Leslie's been spitting out there. The follows are going up. Make sure you continue to support this podcast. Everybody that's listening, I post it, and I've been seeing all the views and the comments. So keep it up. And now taking back her rightful spot, Miss Lana.
Miss Lana, welcome back, girl. How was it? Thank you so much, George.
Thank you, Joy.
How was seeing Mama?
Oh my God, my mom's so cute. She got me the Snoop Dogg Elf on the Shelf. So she brought it to. She did. I have to show it to you.
That is the cutest thing ever.
She was like, I couldn't wait to give it to you, so I brought it to you to the studio. So she brought it here, and I was so excited. I was jumping up and down. Aww. Snoop Dogg Elf on the Shelf. My mommy got it for me. Shout out, Mom. Fuck yeah.
That's adorable.
But anyway, thyroid. Snoop Dogg has a thyroid.
Snoop Dogg has a thyroid. If he's not taking iodoral, then he might be a little sluggish. Although he's tall and skinny. I don't know what he looks like now, but I mean, some people just have, they just do well with iodine. See, for me, it was a big deal. So, I did the carnivore, majorly transformative for me. Oh, we were talking about butter boobs.
Okay, I was going to ask about that, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, as I grab mine. So I was talking with one of my carnivore girlfriends yesterday at one of the events I was having, and she was like, we were talking about, of course, because I nerd out all the time, about iodine, and she's on the iodine, and, I said it helps with the breast tissue, and a lot of women who have nodular cysts, on their breasts, they can go away with the iodine. And she was, and I'm like, yeah, my boobs have been like super, super extra buttery since I've been on the iodine. And she's like, oh my God, did you know that they call girls who are on carnivore butter boobs? Apparently they can get bigger. And I was thinking,
what?
No, it's so funny because I think that's true. I have these like tango crop top shirts that I wear that are very similar to this one that I'm wearing right now. And my boob almost pops out of them now. So I think she might be on to something. And I haven't gained any weight, but.
Except in them titties.
Yeah, and usually that's like one of the first place that I lose it.
Really?
So it's very interesting. But it was fascinating because with the hormones, when you have, I'm youthing. I genuinely am regenerating, and it's not natural to age. I say this all the time and I've trademarking this. My application is in trademarking that I've unsubscribed to aging. Yeah. Right. So you don't have to age the way people think. Right. You literally can unsubscribe to it and subscribe to agelessness. And as I've sort of put this intention out there and I've started to really dive into the research and experiment with myself like a mad scientist and finding all these things working, like I'm truly not spending my night times detoxing anymore because I don't have a lot of inflammation, if any, because of my diet. And now I have the right nutrients and vitamins on board that when I finally go to sleep, my body is spending that time genuinely secreting growth factor and optimizing the stem cell use and getting my body into a regenerative and healed state. And I mean, I'm so excited about all these things that I fell upon because I love sharing them with people. Like I talk all day long about this kind of thing because it's really important. Like people ask me like, how old are you? And I tell them and they're just like, that's not possible. I'm like, oh, but it is. And let me tell you all the ways that it is, you know? So anyways, yes, the iodine is very, very critical. We talked, you missed a little bit of it, Lana, but it's critical in terms of not just metabolism, which most people know about, but in lowering your cholesterol. When I started on carnivore, I had digressed. I was getting all these beautiful benefits, but then I added iodoral because I wanted to see how much my body would self-correct and heal just by using the carnivore as an isolated study, right? Isolated, case situation. And then I added all these other things, and the iodoral has like my regimen. I've pushed my limits to see how much that I can take. I've been taking 3 tablets the last 4 days, and I was like shaky at the office. I was like trying to inject someone's face.
Oh,
and my
no.
I was like shaking because my thyroid is picked up so fast. So I know what my threshold is. I'm in the normal level, but it's crazy because I used to be a cold hands, feet, and nose girl. Always fucking cold, and I didn't know why. Whether I was heavier weight or lighter weight, it didn't matter. I was always cold.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, it's basically winter here in Vegas, and I'm not freezing. Like right now, before I would have needed a blanket and another jacket, and like my nose would be leaking. So the iodine has been so supercharging of my thyroid levels. So I'm going to check my thyroid in another probably 6 weeks from my baseline way before I even did any of my carnivore stuff and see where it's at because it has definitely made a major difference. Like my metabolism is through the roof.
Nice.
My boobs are more slippery, but I don't have any of those nodules. I used to have cystic breasts when I was younger as a kid.
Oh, shit.
And I don't have any. They're like super gentle, calm. And I'm really loving that there's more and more research showing the cancer protective effects of iodine. So you missed that part, but there's certain organs, so like breast, pancreas, ovarian, that needs iodine to function. Well, specifically, the thyroid, but iodine as well.
What if you're allergic to it, though?
That's a fantastic, fantastic question. So there's a lot of discrepancy. So people generally aren't allergic to iodine per se. They are allergic to seafood that might have iodine. Yeah. So it is very, very, very rare for someone to be truly allergic to iodine. But there's different versions, right? There's iodine, there's iodide. But oftentimes people say, well, I have a seafood allergy, so I can't take iodine. And with one of the clinicians that's been treating people for over 25 years, I think it is, with iodine, he said he's had maybe one case in that entire time that he suspected was, truly had this sensitivity to iodine because of
the real iodine, not the seafood.
Yeah. So he said most people who have the seafood sensitivity don't generally have that issue with iodine. Now, if it's truly, truly an iodine allergy or sensitivity, but that's not something that's recorded. Yeah. Maybe there is. I'm sure there might be some odd situation, but it's a natural building block for us. So it's a nutrient. It's not something that you generally are allergic to. It could be the substrate or how it's, the mechanism. But if you can get it in different types of foods. You can supplement with it, but it's a building block.
Yeah.
You know, there are people actually that are in a way intolerant to water. I mean, but those are anomalies.
Water?
Yeah, like people I in one of the allergy immunology clinics, they actually will they cannot be in water.
What?
It actually, their skin like blisters and bubbles up. There's some very, very rare conditions out there in the world. And I would suspect that iodine is one of them. In my years of clinical practice, I've never really known someone to be specifically allergic to,
Iodine.
that. Yes. Just my experience in, 12 years. Usually it's the seafood. They just kind of connect those two dots together.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. I love that. I didn't know any of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you'll have to listen to the podcast piece you missed because there's a
Yeah,
lot of, as a female, there's a lot because breast cancer is really prevalent. And, having our water and our salt being stripped of iodine, I mean, it's a very simple thing that people can start adding in to help prevent the nodules. Like it's very quick for a little dysfunctional cell or a nodule to become, something harder and then turn cancerous,
Oof.
right? And so if we can eliminate that or reduce that or help support healthy organ tissues that are predisposed to these cancers that are just so wild and take you out really fast, we want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone is going to sit back and go,
No.
well, I'm just going to let it. I mean, I've known very few clients in my years. There have been a few that are just like, well, whatever. If I have it, I'm done. I'm still going to, do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of people are concerned about their health and they would want to do what they need to do. It's just such a sticky area because, again, as a clinician, we're told so many things that, to caution not to give people too much of this or too much of that because it can cause a lot of problems and they scare the hell out of us as clinicians. If you treat someone that's, still within a normal reference range for their thyroid and then they have hyperthyroid symptoms, there's a malpractice suit. Don't give them iodine because it's in the water. There's no need, even though there's research that says giving someone iodine can help, prevent a lot of these diseases that are being caused. It's very sad. It's very sad what a lot of the clinicians that are prescribing are being, are experiencing, and I was there too. So you have to really know your stuff as a clinician, be able to be safe and know the literature and know your limits and know your clients' limits and really be attentive because it's, you can do so much good, but you have to be aware of the limitations of being in a system like that too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a balance. I'm not shitting on Western medicine. I participate in it. I have my degrees in it.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to be really focused on giving ourselves the building blocks, which are fundamental, like nutrients, the basic building blocks.
Yeah.
To allow the body to regenerate on its own because that's its natural desire and potential. We really need to be getting back to the basics. Everything is about getting back to the basics. Everything about self-mastery, whether it's your mindset or your spirituality or interconnection and your physiology. There's always the fundamental tools, skills, nutrients, or pieces that we cannot forget. That's the bottom of the house, right? That's the foundation of your house, of who you are. And on the physiologic perspective or the body perspective, the nutrition, you have to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
There's no compromising. I will tell people, I used to tell people when I first did carnivore, well, trying to sell them on it, in a way. Well, you could do sugar on some day. You could do wine. Everyone loves their alcohol, which again is a depressant and people want to numb out, right? If you really want to do something like keto and you really want to reset your body, you can't have your cake and eat it too right now. You know, when you want to really get your body into a good position and really reset it and get cleaned and cleared out, you have to dedicate the time to it, like a 30-day full reset. After that, then maybe do once a week.
Oof.
But it's a big commitment. I mean, we talked about that with you and your sugar addict. I was a huge sugar addict
bro.
too.
But you know what's funny? I don't think my body has like recovered from that sugar stuff. My body's like so out of whack that I don't even know what to do with it.
From withdrawing the sugar?
Mm-hmm. To be completely honest, I feel like my joints hurt a lot more, and my pH balance was thrown way the fuck off. Like my pH balance kind of like it went well, but like the slightest bit of sugar that I drink or like anything like that like throws my pH balance off, and I hate it. So now it's like if I don't drink water, oh boy. If I drink a coffee, oh boy, there goes my pH.
So having taken a break from sugar, now that you have sugar, your body, you're telling me, is more sensitive to it.
Yeah. It's just like it hates it now or something, but I still eat it.
And you're telling me that's a bad thing.
Well, no.
That your body is responding negatively to something that's a poison, whereas before it was responding.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. You wanted to go back to the days when you just were able to give yourself sugar and it just tolerated it.
No. Well, I guess maybe
Kind of.
in a sense, yeah, but it's like now ever since I stopped eating sugar, my legs cramp up more and my feet are a lot more sensitive and my pH balance is off and my joints hurt a lot more than they used to.
Do you eat as much sugar as you used to though?
No.
Well, that's part of it too.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to chat a little bit more because remember when you called or texted me. You texted me like
text you.
late, and you
I was
were
freaking out.
Yeah, and I'm like, so if you're not, it's an electrolyte issue again.
Yeah.
So just go back to. We'll talk about it off air.
Okay.
But you'll definitely need to add more of the salt water back.
Okay.
Because your electrolytes are just off. Because again, if you're not secreting as much insulin, you're not pulling as much of that in, and you don't drink a lot of water naturally.
Yeah, no.
Right. So that's part of it. It's a
it.
simple water and salt issue.
Okay.
So your body is just, because when you had so much sugar in your body, your insulin was pumping, and that draws salt and water in.
Yeah.
And so if you cut that down, and you're very sensitive to it, you're very sensitive to insulin, obviously, because this cutting it down is totally, creating challenges with you. But all you need to do is really increase your hydration and electrolytes. So salt, you can maybe drink some electrolyte drinks, but just add the salt. Try it again tonight.
Okay.
And you might just have to start doing that. Add more salt to your food or
And it's not
water.
a lot of salt. It's just because I feel like sometimes I'm overdoing it.
No. I mean, you shouldn't need more than a teaspoon. Rarely, like people when they're super keto, they need 2 teaspoons, up to 2 teaspoons a day. But you won't need that much.
Okay.
But that's all it is. Your body is just, it's going, okay, now that we don't have this, you have to give us something else. It's kind of like you're in the middle of transitioning from a
Male to
gas.
female.
I know, whenever I say transition. Converting from a gas-powered vehicle to an electric-powered vehicle. You're like a hybrid right now.
Yeah.
You're a hybrid. So you're secreting a little insulin, but not enough to pull everything in. And so your body is going, okay, what's going on here? So you just have to add a little bit more salt and fluid to your diet now that you don't have insulin overworking.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was torture.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we are good.
We are A-okay.
We are okay.
We're
We're okay. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in today. It was a fun episode. We had George, a surprise guest today. We had Lana. We had Lana's mom. Shout out to her. Thank you for bringing Snoop Dogg Elf to the office. And I hope you guys learned a little bit about cholesterol, the myths of what causes it, and how we can correct it through thyroid hormone, particularly through the supplementation of iodine/iodide, which is really important, and all the little fun extra goodies that we threw in there along the way. All right, all of you, I will see you next time.